presentation about our work with high school ELA team. We have some visitors. Jessie Dykstra from Central High isn't able to be with us today because she has theater practice. But we do have representation from all of our buildings, other buildings. So Dwayne, you want to start with you?
Oh, sure. I'm Doreen Barnes. I teach AP Lang and Composition, AP Seminar, and Journalism at Forest Hills Eastern High School.
I'm Elise Greenwood. I teach pre-AP1 with the 9th graders this year, and then whatever else they throw at me.
Amber Ashley. I teach English 9 and Honors 9 at Eastern High.
Hi, I'm Sarah Bokamp, and I teach regular English 10, which is American literature right now, and then pre-AP Honors 9, so I'm kind of leading that for the district right now with the honors curriculum.
So our teachers that are busy doing all the hard work. You also heard from Nikki and Jennifer Kiger this year at one of the board meetings on AP Sem 2. So this will give you a little more of a holistic view of the hard work we've been doing with high school ELA, primarily at the 9 and 10 level, but we have a lot of work ahead of us still too. Our what, why, and how, we started actually the year before last, kind of thinking about high school ELA, we had a grammar committee that started, listening to teachers at each building, where are we as far as high school ELA, and we realized it had been a while since we looked at curricular resources, and we're in different spots depending on the high school, so we decided to all come together. So last year started our work with our exploratory committee, and then now we're in a curricular review, and we still have work ahead next year as we revise and edit, and even look at 11 and 12 and what that looks like too. It's been an honor. These are like rock stars. I can kind of like step out and they do all the hard work. So I'm really proud of the group too. And I feel like we've grown even as a mini family. So it's tons of fun to be with them too. But everything they're doing really aligns with our guiding principles. And I think one of the guiding principles that stands out to me with this group are just high expectations for all kids. So supporting kids that might need that support and that extra support, but for all kids having those high expectations, which I know you'll hear. So when we think about shifting to some of the pre-AP English 1 and English 2 curricular items, it really focuses on content, but also aligning vertically and horizontally, which we really wanted to do across our district, so we could be one Forest Hills 2, and then looking at targeted assessments and feedback, so checking where kids are, where they need to be, and where we might make some changes too. Even as they lead up, you'll hear from the teachers into the SAT component. This is Hattie's research, and it comes alive in this group. Their collaboration efforts across buildings is just unbelievable, and collective efficacy has such high effects. So anything above a 0.4 is about a year's worth of growth potentially for students. So when teachers work together, really looking at data, you can see collective efficacy has a 1.6. So what they're doing is the right work, and research, definitely points that out. So I'm going to hand it over so we can learn a little bit about what our plans are for English 9. And I believe that I'm going to hand it over to Sarah first. Before you start the video, she's going to say a few words.
So when you take a look at this video, you'll see that it offers you a glimpse of the pre-AP classroom. You'll see some screenshots of students working, whatever, and it points out just some highlights of the pre-AP curriculum. So during my tenure in Forest Hills, I've taught every level of English, and for years I have really felt that there's this kind of nagging thing where our students are coming to us with writing some basic writing skills. And so when you look at being ready to go into AP Lang or AP Lit, like what is the foundation they need? And I think across the board we work really tirelessly to teach good writing skills. I will say pre-AP offers a shift in teaching. I don't even know how to put the direct words with it, but I can tell you it happens. There's a level of engagement in the teaching, and it's just a different kind of teaching. My honor students will say, is this one of those units where we're like busy every moment? And that's how they sense it, right? And there's the different shift when we're doing like a whole class novel. So things that it really plays to is that reading takes time. We're not rushing through a list of things. That writing takes practice. I will say initially when we looked at it and we're like, we're going to be focusing on the paragraph for mostly almost the whole year, right? And you're thinking, is that enough for our students? And so we've embedded some full essays in there. However, I will say this training of the paragraph writing, I have seen my honor students it just clicked. It's that repetition, it's the direct correlation with the text. I can see how long-term it's going to affect and allow them to enter into the AP classes in junior and senior year and really be prepared. So it's really exciting. And at Forest Hills, we have seen some of the other districts just teach the pre-AP curriculums. We want to hold our students to the rigor and the level that we have kind of come accustomed to. And so it's important for us, we have kind of taken the curriculum, which they say is about 60% of the time, and we've added, woven through whole class novels and other units into it to make it our Forest Hills curriculum. The other thing that's super exciting is that this prepares students, all students, with the tools that they need to take AP classes as they progress through their schooling. And so we have not had a concentration of effort like that before, and I think that's really important because it speaks to allowing a student who might think, I'm not an honors kid, to be able to feel like, maybe I could go into that AP class because I have this background, this training, and I know I can do it. So just giving students that feeling like they can do it. Right, I think that's good. So if you can watch the video.
Pre-AP English teachers by the end of the course will probably become very, very aware and comfortable with the idea that reading takes time. They'll also come away knowing writing takes practice. And it's okay to begin at the sentence level. There's a great deal of rigorous work that happens at the sentence level before moving on.
Where a lot of the kids are lacking is that analysis part, the elaboration, explain it to me. And when they get that early on, it becomes easier. And I've noticed that in today's conversations in the classroom, the kids were like, yeah, in the text right here, it says this, and I feel that this quote means whatever they feel it means, right? So that's it, that's the evidence-based writing.
When you read over a book, sometimes you may not look at the important things or like what the story is actually about. But when a teacher tells you to get evidence, you really have to look in and see what the story is actually about and what to like expect from it. And you see things you didn't notice when you first read over it. So it really gives you another look or another point of view of the book and how it's supposed to be told.
Throughout the school, I think we are moving in that direction of, you know, that whatever it is you read, whether it's a graph, a chart, whatever, that there is going to be some close reading with that the academic conversations need to be happening. We've done Socratic seminars about, you know, texts that we've read where students have brought their higher order questions. I'm not going to answer all the questions for you. Let's have a discussion about it. And so we have those academic conversations, sometimes in pairs, sometimes as a class. And then really now, how do we take what we've done in a conversation and transfer this to writing, where you have to create a thesis, you know, and you have to support your thesis with evidence, and then you have to add your commentary. And so all the shared principles, they just kind of all work together with any piece of text really that we do. But we've started off small and then kind of been able to get to larger pieces of text. But they all work, you know, hand in hand.
Before in English, I was like, not struggling, but I was like, wow, like, how did you know this? How did you do this? How did you do that? But now that I'm learning here, I'm like, wow, like, I completely get it now.
So as you know, we are extremely blessed in Forest Hills to have amazing teachers who spend tireless hours making sure their students are getting everything they need. The benefit of instituting this pre-AP curriculum, I believe, is that we also are at an age where we're going to have a lot of people retiring. It will give a foundation where all students will be receiving the same kind of fundamental learning on the basics. And I think that's really important because if all students have that foundation, it allows them to really be successful no matter what path they take. The exciting thing about pre-AP and AP7 is that it's a fluid thing for students to choose. Students can start off on a regular track, go into something that would be considered honors, go back to AP, and it gives parents and it gives students a lot of options to where they feel comfortable and where they can do best. The other thing I have to put a plug in that I love about this stuff is that each student gets a booklet that they can write in, and we know that writing with hands and being interactive with their text, textually like that, really increases learning. And the studies, just keep coming back on that and away from the computers. And so students are engaged with their text. There's a couple of moments this year where literally had something on the screen, they have their books, and we're like in a huddled mass in the classroom, and everybody's working, and it's like that beautiful aha moment that you just wish you had a snapshot, for everybody else to see it through your lens, where you see them so engaged and really into the text and doing great things at such a young age. And so that's what I'm seeing with my freshmen, and how it's very exciting for me as a teacher. All right, I think anybody else go?
Okay, so I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the course and the 4 units that we are implementing this year. So each unit takes approximately 7 weeks, which is about 60% of our curriculum, so we're supplementing the other 40%. Unit 1 is telling details, so we look at specific details of the text and how our authors use those details to convey meaning. And then in Unit 2, pivotal words and phrases, we shift to poetry and drama and look at stylistic choices and why those authors might make those stylistic choices. Unit 3, compelling evidence, this is our research and argument unit, so we read nonfiction argument, we analyze what rhetorical strategies the authors use to develop their argument, and then they will write on that, what rhetorical strategies were effective in developing the argument. And then Unit 4, powerful openings, is our narration unit. So we look at a variety of novels and the openings of those novels, the first chapters, and we look at characterization, setting, and theme. And then within each unit, students will, engage with the text at the beginning. And this curriculum offers us a unique opportunity to slow down while also maintaining rigor, so not feeling like we have to move through everything so quickly. And so we start small. We start with a sentence frame, and then we fill in the gaps, and then we work to a paragraph, and then a multi-paragraph essay. So each unit will include that engaging with the text, looking at those small specific details, and then constructing the text. We start with a sentence frame, move to a paragraph, and then to a multi-paragraph. Focusing on the language, what is the effect and the meaning of an author's word choice, phrase, and then investigating through research. Each unit includes collaborative research or on-the-spot research, and then finally entering the conversation, teaching our students how to have strong academic conversations about what they're reading and writing.
So within those units that Amber just shared, those were maybe perfect. These are the 3 areas of focus of each of those units. So the units, one unit focuses on all 3 of these things each time. The 3 areas of focus are reading closely, valuing evidence, and noticing language choices. These areas of focus are vertically aligned to the practices embedded in high school English courses and college English courses and in AP courses. And so by focusing on these, we're allowing students multiple opportunities to strengthen these key literacy skills throughout their high school career. I also think it's really cool that these areas of focus are things that we've all done in our English courses or classes even before pre-AP. We've always taught close reading skills. We've always taught them evidence-based reading and writing, and we've always analyzed authors' word choice and how that affects their audience. But now we all have that common framework and guidelines of how to teach that. We've always done it because we're cool at floor skills, but now we have the deliberate framework that we can all follow.
Oh.
Sorry. It's a little slow, it's doing it. But
Okay, so for the honors. So first I want to say we started last spring and worked throughout the summer to try to get the gist of what it was going to be like, right? We had to really dive into all the materials, and they weren't released until I think, what was it, July, end of June? So that kind of put us, back burner there. However, we spent lots of time working together and developed what the pre-AP 9 for regular English would look like. And then after we decided that, we said, okay, what will we need to do to elevate that to an honors level? And so the basic things that happen are additional units for higher level text and novels, like whole class novels that the other students will not be reading. We dive deeper into the concepts. I would say we have longer writing assignments and more of them, and extensive grammar instruction related to that elevated writing style. what's really nice about our group, you have someone like me who's been here for many, many moons. Amber actually is one of my students, my former students, one of my first years teaching, so this is super exciting to work together. And then Elise and Jesse are newer teachers. But what's great about that is as we work together, we are seeing what will new teachers need to come in, and what are the fundamentals that we've carried on for a long time in Forest Hills that make us who we are, and make sure that we have just kind of that woven through without. And so it's been kind of exciting to be kind of a diverse group with our ages and our years of teaching, because we've all seen different things, and so that's really helped us kind of, I think, to come up with a good plan. And for me, because Amber teaches Honors 9 at Eastern, I could bounce my ideas of what I wanted to pilot with Honors 9 at Northern, and so that helped us, and then we would all talk together about it. And I'm sure there'll be further discussion as we go into this across the district, but some ideas, things we did differently this year. I read the book Thief first semester. Currently we're doing The House on Mango, and some might say, well, that might be an easier text. It is. However, the one thing that I know after sending my own children off to college and former students in college from everywhere from Michigan to Harvard is that having creativity is super important for students, because every once in a while they get a professor where they have to do something creative, and unless they've been in a program that highlights that and they're just on an AP track, they might not always have those opportunities. So this is a text that lends for some creativity, taking some time to do a project and do something a little different that we wouldn't do with a different unit. We will be reading the entirety of Romeo and Juliet, where the pre-AP curriculum has a short and condensed section of that. We will read To Kill a Mockingbird. We will do a research paper, and then probably read Animal Farm. So we have additional text that the regular pre-AP will not be doing. And then Amber this year is going to try, she's going to teach Unit 3 with her honors over at Forest Hills Eastern, just to see how that works with her students, so we can get some feedback both ways. The other thing I've been committed to this year is that there are different texts in the program where we'll say, okay, regular 9 is not going to do that. And I have been committed to teach every single piece of pre-AP 1 this year, so that we at least have a foundation of how it relates to students and what that might help going with our decisions moving forward. Okay. So while we were developing this, we started to think we're all at different points, but what kind of tool do we need besides the big book that they give you, to help us visually and kind of keep track of ourselves. So we created this visual on the left. It's really great. You can put it on the front folder of, your folder here that you're working with, your material. It can be posted up on your tack board, and it's a quick glance of what the whole year is like. We made a little key up here so that you can see if it's a person, it's teacher made. And then if it's the star, somebody help me. I still have the old-fashioned board in my room. And so star is the pre-AP and the teacher made is the person. So you can see some units, we have a combination of both. Others are just a pre-AP unit, or we might just have a teacher-led unit. So that's a quick glance that we all have. Then over here, we talk about trying to plan it out. The unit length, what text will be read, the writing, the grammar, the assessments, and then we're already coming up with our list, and this is what's so important, our suggestions for next school year. So what's going well, what's not. So even in my book that from Pure AP, I'm putting sticky notes and notes to myself, maybe what really worked well that I want to make sure I do next time, maybe something else didn't work as well, I can scrap that next year and do something different. And so we're hoping too that as we have new teachers come in, they have a really nice guideline of what to do, what's expected of them, and it also helps that all students will get the same basic understanding of the curriculum. So like we said, the pre-AP is 60% of the school year, and then we've supplemented whole class novels and writing to do the rest of it. I'm trying to think of what else we need. And our other underlying thing is we really wanted to keep up with the rigor and the depth of knowledge available within the works. All right, so you might pilot. With the pilot, I guess it's important to know we're still learning and evaluating as we go through it. And that's why we have this line over here of like our notes for the future. And we're committed to creating the best education we can for our students. We all care deeply about our students. And the thing about our English teachers across the district collectively is that we have that as a common thread through all of us. And the other piece is that we really work well together and we share our work and our ideas. And we've talked about having different folders on the main drive for all teachers to access in each level so that everyone has the same resources that we can use. And I think those might seem like small things, but they're really big because it gives them the best to all students.
We have a few more slides still to come too. Thank you, Sarah. I will shout out to the group too because this was done like just putting them in a room together for a day and having them reflect. These are some of the products that they've come up with. Scott, if you'll just go to the next one. Our English 10, we will be doing pre-AP English 2 and then also AP seminar. So if you go to the next one. We're still under construction with pre-AP 2. We're about to get our hands on the materials. Right now we can get in and have access to the first unit. But as we're getting together again coming up on the 13th of February and teachers will be able to dive in. We've invited all English teachers on the 13th, so regardless if you're on the review team or not, you can come. The one thing to note with pre-AP English 2 that's so powerful is although the units might change, those foundations are the same. So they work vertically. So kids, again, that's very beneficial, same type of vocab and exposure for them. One more slide. You'll see too, the areas of focus stay the same. So again, they're working on similar skills we know they need once they leave our district. And again, they get that repetitive nature and just added rigor to it as they move through. One more. We found this really interesting. You might. These are abilities, written expression. When we think about sending our kids off and what they might need, the ability to communicate information and ideas in writing is really important. So these are just a list of some professions, but I think about our technical writers. I know when my daughter went to Michigan, I know our kids graduated together. Engineering, they had changed when she went to where you still had to take English courses, but they were noticing such a deficiency in writing and reading, even with their engineer kids, that they put engineering, reading, and writing ELA classes in their department. So the kids had to engage in that in their core classes, but also they had to do it again in their engineering classes. And you can see that technical writers, even outside of being in the writing force, but engineers, medical field, being able to communicate is really important. And our students with technology, need a little bit sometimes of support these days. So that's really interesting. We're going to head into next. I'm going to hand it over to Doreen for a quick snippet on AP seminar.
I will not be able to properly do justice to the transformative nature of AP seminar for our students, but also for myself as a teacher. Years ago, it might have been 6 years ago, a student asked me if I would consider looking at the AP seminar catalog. And I was like, oh yeah, this is so cool and so intuitive, and yeah, I would do it in a minute. And then my oldest son went off to college, and he would come back and say, well, Mom, this is what I got today. I have this article, and I have this, and I need to write a response, and I need to do a presentation. And I thought about my own English class, and I'd like to think I'm a solid teacher. And I'm like, gosh, I don't really ask my kids of that. We do a lot of teaching, and this is what this means, and what do you think? But we're really the guide, and I'm all about analogies. So think of this for a minute. If you've ever been to a dinner party, maybe, and someone is serving you the meal, perhaps you're sitting around and you're at the table, and let's say I'm the server, I'm not really an active participant in your dinner party. I'm just providing the content. In AP seminar, I'm literally sitting at the desk in the tables with the kids as they're developing their ideas. They are asked to first follow kind of I think you put the acronym of the quest, right? I don't know the exact order.
Do I need?
I don't know, can I use the?
Yeah, I'll go forward and see if that, nope.
And the circling.
Oh,
of
you had a video first, I'm
the
sorry.
circling at the top was because we had it at Central, but not at our other schools. So now we do.
You want me to slide forward to it there?
Do I not? Oh. This is how I do it in my classroom. Go to the slide that has Quest. The other thing you need to know about AP7 is you gotta learn a whole lot of acronyms if you're gonna be a successful teacher of it.
Yep.
So you have 5 big ideas throughout the year, and they basically are quests, which is, that's okay, those are my students too. Quest is question and analyze. The U is understand. The E is evaluate sources. The S is synthesize, and then the T is team, transform, and transmit. So students often pick their own research topics, but they're given like a guide. And then I work to help them understand how to write inquiry-based research questions. I teach outlining skills. I teach rhetorical choice. All of the components that we see in collegiate and really professional writing is embedded into AP Seminar. So at the 10th grade level, we start off with perhaps like, I give them a topic and I say, okay, what questions do you have about a locavorism? That was the one we started with this year, and kids are like, oh. And so they have to come up with their own research question. They have to have at least 10 sources, and then they write a 1,200-word research report. After that, they work with a team, usually 3 or 4 students together, and they have to do a 10-minute presentation with a multimedia fancy thing like this that they're scored on. And they also have to orally defend the position and their solution. And I'm thinking back when I was in high school, and I memorized a poem and presented that. I cannot go to school today, said little Peggy Ann McKay, I had the measles and, like, I remember that. I asked somebody else, like, what do you remember? And they're like, we the people? My kids stand before me, and as I'm listening, I think to myself, I had no idea how to reform secondary education and how it's financed. That was one of my topics. And their whole research was about how fundamentally flawed the system is at funding education in our country. I'm taking notes, right? When kids come to me with questions, it's something like, Mrs. Barnes, can you help me understand the obesity epidemic in the United States? I can't, but I can help them find the resources, the sources, and then how to understand the text. It's transformative for them, but also, I think, for me. One boy who would never consider himself an honor student, his mom flat out told me, I would never take an honors English, no way. He has moved. I'm always amazed when he stands up and he gets ready to go. Like I said, you're gonna sell somebody the world because he's so dialed into it. His research report was on the use of AI in the medical field and how AI can actually benefit physicians because they can use it to take away all of the former scribing and note-taking. And he was not wrong. The next day I read a report, my son's pre-med, and he's like, Mom, look at this study I read. And it was the same kids, verbatim, there wasn't like plagiarism kind of thing, but in essence, what was going on in college, he had done this. He walked into my room last week because we were scheduling at Easter, and he's like, not an issue, I'm on it, AP Lang, I know. Like, he didn't even think twice about the track he was projected on. I have another student, and this one always makes me cry a little bit. I had her in 9th grade last year, and every day, she's like, Mrs. Barnes, I don't like reading, I can't do this, I don't want to do it. And she's had an A the entire year in AP Seminar. She's like, I love this. Hasn't said once that she can't read. She gets up there in front, she's doing her thing on the board. It's a different section of English than what they're accustomed to. She walked in the day we were scheduling, and she looked at me, she's like, what? I'm taking AP Lang. Again, the whole idea that these are kids who would never have said, I'm an honor student, or I'm an AP student. They don't even think of it as anything but the progression of their learning. So I'm kind of floored by their growth as individuals. But I also think it's changing the way we think of English. And I love a good novel. Like, I love to analyze and the theme and all of that, but I don't see that as the only skill a kid needs in AP Seminar, because they're learning how to read deeply nonfiction, but also applying it to fictional pieces. So, for example, we read The Great Gatsby at the start of semester 2, and the kids were immediately discussing the parts that we sometimes have to work hard at connecting. Like, for example, how does this define the American dream? Or does structure and class play a role in our society? And these were questions that they were coming up with. I don't necessarily have to create the questions, which is kind of nice, but also I feel like it could be intimidating because the kids need me in a different manner. They need me to help them write stronger sentences. They need me to help them with presentations more than they need me to say, this is what a symbol perhaps is and the meaning of it, because they're gleaning that from our work. I don't know if you want to show the video.
No, you did a better job than